The GT 1030, specifically the DDR4 version, has been widely regarded as the worst GPU released in the recent years because of its inferiority to its older GDDR5 variant. The difference between these two is of course the memory used in them. The DDR4 variant is much slower, uses system RAM mostly, and the GDDR5 memory is just a better pairing. So does this mean the DDR4 GT 1030 is utter trash and should not even be touched, or can it still satisfy a gamer on a super small budget? This is the MSI Aero ITX2 GT4. I got it for €30 shipped, and after some troubleshooting, I got it working. It has a very low power consumption of only 20 watts, and the recommended PSU for this GPU is only a 300 watt one. The GT 1030 has not been a very welcome GPU, even when it released, but as the prices have fallen to a point where you can get it for around €30, maybe it actually is a good buy. I would not buy this GPU if it were over €40, as this budget allows us to even buy a GTX 1050, almost double the performance of the GDDR5 variant. The card itself is pretty lightweight but well built for GT 1030 standards. Most models had only a heatsink, few added a tiny little cooler. I think this card could do some overclocking, but I'm not going to do that because I have failed many times. If you're confident enough, you could try that. Definitely watch a tutorial while doing that though. For my test setup, I'm going to use a Ryzen 5 2600X and 16GB of dual channel DDR4 RAM at 3200MHz CO16. The CPU is a bit overkill for a GPU such as a GT 1030, but that eliminates the bottleneck I would have maybe had with i7 4790 machine. I'm going to test the GT 1030 in a variety of games, mostly lightweight esports titles such as Rocket League, Valorant and Fortnite, but also in some other games that you're going to see. Enough with the talk, let's get into the benchmarks. Firstly, we got a game that can even run on old Haswell era Intel HD graphics. Of course, I'm talking about Valorant. The game can basically run on a potato, as this game allows to tweak render settings even lower, and just went with the stock low settings preset on 1080p. On those settings, I got a nice high refresh rate experience of 147.4 FPS average and 1% low being 64.3 FPS. With this frame rate, you can definitely be competitive in Valorant and reach high ranks. From a not so graphically demanding game to another one, we have Minecraft. The game runs pretty smooth, but it has lower FPS numbers than I expected. I expected more from a more than 10-year-old game. In 1.19.3 on 1080p default settings, I got an average FPS of 113. The 1% low was near 30 FPS and the 0.1% low near 10 FPS. It was smooth but had a lot of dips. Might have been because of the range generation or something, I am not sure, but if you know what might have given such a low FPS number, please comment it down below. Finally, we have something more demanding. The game where cars pump bows and go boom. Rocket League. In Rocket League on 1080p low preset and performance render quality, with every settings checked off, I got an average of 37.1 FPS, with a 1% low and the 0.1% low being 10.3 FPS and a 1.5 FPS respectively. Kinda low for my standards, but if you really want to, you can turn down the resolution to 900p or lower the rendering quality. Next up, Fortnite. I'm not sure how, but Stutter Knight actually beat Rocket League by a long shot. I did not expect such a great performance out of the GT 1030 in this game. I ran it on 1080p, performance mode with the view distance set to epic and the texture quality to low. I got an astonishing 88.5 FPS average and a 20.8 FPS 1% low. Fortnite being Fortnite, I got less than 1 FPS, 0.1% low. Now a graphically demanding game, Halo Infinite. I tried to run it as a joke first, but was super surprised when the game on 1080p, 71% render scale on the lowest settings with the minimum FPS set to 60 FPS ran actually quite well. It got 34 FPS on average, and in less demanding areas it was around 50 FPS. It might look like crap on a bigger than 24-inch screen, but it was definitely playable on a 24-inch screen. Somehow the GT 1030 ran Overwatch 2 quite well too. I expected it to be a very unpleasant experience when I opened the game, as the loading screen was laggy, but when I entered the game it was pretty playable. On 900p low settings I got an average FPS of 62.9, which was enough for me, and the 0.1% low slightly less than 2010, and the 0.1% low slightly less than 20.1 FPS. Now, a game you don't really expect, Severed Steel. It's not a graphically intense game, and it was free on Epic Games. I got it and loved it. The GT 1030 also loved this game, as I got 43.8 FPS on this game on 900p tuned down settings. There are settings that make the models simpler, but I did not use them. They will probably help a lot with the performance. But why did I test this random game that was free on Epic? Well, I think the GT 1030 is a very good pairing for a super budget build if you're only going to play some lightweight games that are not made by AAA publishers. This GPU did fantastically in Severed Steel and in Bloons TD6, which I tested off camera, and it felt very playable, even past around 200. If you don't have a lot of money or can't save up, then throwing this GPU in an i5 or i7 Optiplex is a great way to start your gaming journey. If you can, try to get the GDDR5 version. The GDDR5 version is 2 times better than the DDR4 one. Just note that the GDDR5 version draws 30 watts and the DDR4 version draws 20 watts, and some OEM PCs might have very small power supplies, so that's something to consider. I hope this video helped you in your super budget GPU hunt, and if it did, you can help me by pressing like and subscribing. I set a goal of reaching 1000 subs in this year, so any help along the way is welcome. Until next time, peace.